Circling in, we're live. Hey guys, so we're doing a little bit different. We're doing the webcam today because Patrick's a little bit under the weather, so we're not operating the expensive camera that we have had. When we originally started to take the seriousness of the YouTube, we invested in some equipment, and we have a very good camera. Don't ask me what it is, Malcolm. Malcolm, you know what it is if you're here, but which he is. I don't think he is, but we originally invested a lot of money in this, and we have been very pleased at the results of the YouTube and how big the channel has grown. I mean, we're not out there doing extreme videos like dropping bowling balls off buildings onto Volkswagens to get as many views as possible. That's not what we're about. We hope that in every video, including these question and answers, that we're providing some really good content. I mean, as usual, we're not professional broadcasters. I think where we do our professionalism comes in our skill with upholstery and also the editing process, which I think is top notch. Patrick and Michaela get a lot of kudos for that. But as far as we don't have a makeup man, as you could tell. we don't have we don't have things like that. And I don't have a script that I follow. This is all pretty much off the cuff. Although we have somewhat of a formula with the question and answers, and that is that you guys can comment or ask questions, obviously. And we did this. We started this weekly thing especially for the online classes and the YouTube. If you guys have any, we're going to follow up on some YouTube questions, and that's what this is all about. Try to give an overview. Try to also show how to run an upholstery business. I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. Before I get going, excuse me, I do want to talk about what it costs. There's a big cost to operating a business. One of them is a van. I think somebody was asking what type of van last week. I think they might have cursed me, Patrick. Somebody was getting
I
it.
brought that up.
You did.
Yeah.
Somebody was bringing up what type of van, and I was saying we have a 2010 or had a 2010 Transit Ford. Been happy with it. And I was going up a hill here Friday, and the engine blew. I was just happy and lucky that I didn't get hurt. I was in the speed lane trying to get around my excuse is it's an old van. I was going up a hill, a big hill, and I was trying to get around a landscaper with brush in the back, and he had a top that was flapping in the wind, and all of the debris was coming out. I was trying to get around him, and the guy was going faster and faster, and I couldn't get around him really, and I finally did get around him, but I paid the price. On the other side of the hill, it started to knock, and then boy, a real knocking, and I had to pull over, and I was stuck along the side of the road for a good hour and a half, but AAA. So now I'm hoping to get another van. I don't know what I'm going to do. These are very expensive, you guys. You're talking about a brand new Econoline today is about what, $68,000, I think, and that's way above my budget. Hi, Malcolm. I'm running the show by myself today, so I hope that there's some quality to this. Anyhow, I did want to follow up on some things. Jimmy and I did and we call it the angel chair, which is kind of fun. We were having a lot of fun with that. We did part one. We were going to do part two, yes, Saturday, but so much happened. Very sadly, today, the same day, the engine went out, and Patrick, can I tell what happened to you, Patrick?
Yeah, we'll leave it up. I forgot.
You hit that beaver.
Oh, stuff.
Patrick and
I
Michaela
forgot about it.
were coming to work, and they hit and ran over a beaver, and we're animal lovers, so they were late coming in Friday, and then that set us up.
Yeah, we'll go with that's why we were late.
Well, I mean, it was upsetting. I actually was a customer in the shop, and because Michaela was going to come in to help that customer, and that customer happened to be a psychologist, and she's very busy, by the way, as you could probably imagine. But she was very sympathetic with you, wasn't she, Michaela? She wanted to make sure that you were okay after that
We did stop
experience.
and we gave the Beaver CPR.
Did you try to give it
We
CPR,
did,
Patrick?
but
Did you?
unfortunately, didn't work out.
You did not.
There was no way that beaver was living after being run over by a giant truck.
Of all things to hit, I mean, I don't know anybody that's hit a beaver. And then you saw a baby deer on the road or something,
Yeah, on the way home because it started like hailing.
right?
It was in a parking lot.
The same day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
So Friday,
that one wasn't hit.
yeah.
it wasn't hit, but Friday was an unusual day. There were other things that happened, and so I guess the reason I brought it up was we were supposed to do part 2 of Jimmy's class Saturday, and we totally forgot to charge the GoPro, Malcolm, and we never got around to it. So we're hoping this Saturday. So Jimmy took me out to. He felt bad for me, so he bought me lunch on Saturday, Patrick. At a place called Jimmy's, believe it or not. Jimmy took me to Jimmy's. Anyhow, that'll be coming up. Jimmy's wing chair class is posted, and I hope that you guys check it out. There was a lot of work in the actual filming, the actual doing of the wing chair, but the editing process was really exhausting, I think, for Patrick and Michaela. I think people have no idea. I think the good thing about film, though, is first of all, I think upholstery is pretty timeless. So it worked out. Yeah, Malcolm says so it worked out. The GoPro, yeah, yeah, check it out. Yeah, we thought it, Patrick. I'm not going to ask Patrick too many questions because he's got the sore throat, but we thought that the GoPro worked out pretty good. It had a slight audio issue, but Patrick's pretty picky about that stuff. And maybe I can help that by having a non-squeak shirt or something. I don't know. But I mean, it's not the quality of the online classes. It's not the content of the online classes at all. So, I mean, if you guys are interested in learning in-depth upholstery, if you're watching us for the first time, check out the website. Keep forgetting to say people want to know where they can buy the online classes. Well, it's at Upholstery on Broadway. And check out the tab at the top. It will say classes, online classes, and you can check out all the different classes. We just had somebody buy a slipcover class, and I do want to mention Bernice's slipcover class is a very unusual slipcover class where she teaches you how to save time. You're always interested in saving time, you guys. How you can cut corners without cutting quality. Bernice's class is really good that way. I think it saves, if I'm not mistaken, it saves time going out to the client, and it saves time sewing. So those two things. Also, check out the Broadway Upholstery School on the YouTube, and also on the Facebook. Facebook is such a great. I think it's one of the great successes of what we've tried to do and spread the word of upholstery. And you know what we're trying to do, you guys, is spread the word. I think I was taught in a classical sense, not a European sense, in an American classic American sense, how to upholster by people from Europe. And I think that we have a lot to offer in that regard. So check out all those different sources. So what I want to do is get going now on that. I'm going to have Michaela come in a little bit with our usual thing that we do with the estimates, and we have a couple, but I do want to ask her about the art of selling fabric. She was a natural at it, and I think I want to ask her some questions and about some problems that come up in that too, and that I've seen come up recently, and I run those by her. I'm just going to drop my phone a little bit. I mean, put the volume down. So let's get going on the Facebook first. Diane, hi Diana, and I think Diana has dropped me a line saying that they've been busy and they haven't been around, and that they were going to start getting back in the swing of thing. And so we have House of Nimbula. Hi, folks. Hi.
Nico.
What?
That's Nico.
That's Nico. Yeah, and I think she's got a post in here, doesn't she, Patrick?
Mhm.
Yeah. I think I'm going to be able. I did do this when Patrick was away. I did this webcam, and I did answer questions and comments. I was actually um, okay, I think, at it. But Diana says a nice wood rocker that found its way into the shop. It needs the wooden panel removed from the seat and new cushions. So she can take the wood panel off and she can web that. Um, Although if you see the little holes that had those clips and probably rubber webbing on it, really wide rubber webbing, and obviously that doesn't hold up too well. So it looks like a homeowner at some point put a piece of wood on there as kind of a temporary solution. But she's going to have to. That's above the profile of the bottom of the chair, so she's going to have to. It's not a good idea, you guys. You need to at least replace it with the rubber webbing, which I don't like to do, but I try to convince people to do an upholstered deck. So I tell people I like to put a deck webbing, the webbing that we use, burlap, and just a little bit, maybe a layer of cotton, and that's it. And then maybe a decking fabric, and then you can trim it out with a gimp and try to stay within, see the holes there. You try to stay not too far outside of those holes. You want to try to minimize that as much as possible, the area that you put it on. But then you do that and you have nothing to worry about. Customer's happy. You'd be surprised at how webbing and burlap, the right webbing, the red webbing, and burlap and a layer of cotton provides. Believe it or not, it provides a little bit of a trampoline. And it's better, I think, than the rubber webbing. And completed rocker she's got here. A new elastic band webbing. She went with the webbing and the clips on the seat. A new fitted cushions back is 2-inch foam with buttons. I love the extra buttons. Wait till you see this, you guys. And the seat is 3-inch foam. Well, Diane, I congratulate you on getting the scale of this baby done right. The scale on this is really proper and really nice. You can see now if the scale, and when I talk scale, I talk about thickness of the cushions mainly. If she put an inch bigger cushion on either the front, the seat, or the back, or both, I think that would throw the whole aesthetics of this chair off completely. And I think the buttons are a nice touch. I think it's a really attractive chair. Oops, let me put it up a little bit. You know what? I bet I didn't have that held up before. It's pronounced Nombilly, Patrick. Nombilly it's not Nambilly, it's Nombilly. House of Nombilly, Pat.
Are you asking me this one?
It's all right. So that's the front. That's the first picture that I was down here showing you guys. So sorry about that. I'll put that over here.
Not sure.
I got to make sure I lift these up, Patrick, because they can't see them. But I just want to show you the nice job Diana did. And if you guys are out in Wisconsin, look up Esquire Upholstery, right, Patrick? They've been great friends to us. They've been added a lot of content to our website and to these shows, and we appreciate that. This is the Facebook that they're posting this on. I am glad that they take the time to do this. I really am. I appreciate that. And now we have from Jean. Jean says, let me just hold this up first. No, let me read it first. Jean said she just watched the latest live chat. The gooseneck or swan neck chair the clients brought me to upholster. I wanted to buy it for myself. The client did not want to sell it to me and said it was going to one of her daughters. I think it's a really neat chair. I am waiting on the fabric to be delivered. Right now, I'm working on a boat seat. I had to repair foam, added 1/2-inch sew foam to smooth out the repairs. Installed new carpet for the front bottom of the seat. Just finished patterning the cover for it and have to cut sew next. I'm in a small town, rural area, and do whatever comes my way. Kudos to you, Gene. I don't even touch boat seats. I really don't. There's another reason. I won't mention why. But you do when you're in a small rural area. You tend to be more resourceful in your work for sure, and you take on even automobile seats. I bet, but that's fine. I was talking to one of my students out in the Midwest, and she was opposite a saddle maker, a saddle shop. They make saddles for horses. That's a whole different ball game. Now, imagine the detail in that and the leather work in there. Excuse me for a second. She goes on, I'm in a small town, rural area, and that I do whatever comes my way. Hope it helps someone on foam fixes. I usually cut out the bad section about an inch or two of the deep of the hole. Let me just about an inch or two to the deep of the hole, the glue foam piece, and the area compressing the foam a little to get it in the hole. I'll show you a picture in a minute, you guys, and pressing down to get a good contact with the glued area. The trim off with my foam saw and sand with my lemon peel grater works good for that. Talk about resourceful. I bet, and she doesn't mention. So Jean is repairing foam here, and I think that's cool. I believe it or not, you guys, even in my area, which is more of an upscale area, people like the fact that I'm resourceful like this. I'm saving as much product as I can within reason. I've never done anything quite like this, but I think this is really, really cool. I think people respond to this pretty well. I think we do live in a world where people are worried about the ecology, the environment. So I think communicating this to your customer is really important. I'm sure that price had something to do with it. I think that if Jean was to replace all the foam, that would be a lot more costly, and that might have thrown her estimate over. And that happens a lot to me, I know. But I think that that's good, resourceful. I like that resourcefulness. So let's go to Tracy. Tracy says Malcolm says repairing foam is normal for auto seats. It is custom molded from the factory. Yeah, that is true. Also, mid-century tends to be custom. What a lot of people don't understand what mid-century furniture, Malcolm, and you probably know this. First of all, it's molded and it profiles low. It's not a bulk, in automobile seats. It's like a lot of molded foam. In mid-century, like a womb chair, for instance, it's a very little, small area. So if that's gone, there's no repairing like Jean. It's taking it apart. And then once that happens, there's not an upholsterer in the world that I know that has a mold that have the molds they can pour latex into and duplicate that. As a matter of fact, excuse me for a second. As a matter of fact, even people who are making those womb chairs today don't do it. They actually use foam. They use half-inch foam, and you could tell the difference. The latex profile is much nicer on those chairs. So if you could save the latex, by all means, save it. Excuse me. And Malcolm says he's mid-century. Yeah, I'm a little. So am I. So we don't want to throw you away, Malcolm. We want to recover you. Remember, upholsterers don't never die; they always recover. Remember that. Tracy says before and after a little Rockefeller donation. Oh, that's nice. So what Tracy is doing? She is reupholstering a Rocca, and she's donating it to a worthy cause, maybe something like Goodwill or furniture consignment stores. There's one around me that, called Restoration Project that does this. They have a showroom in Belmont, Massachusetts. You can check them out. But that's a nice job. I mean, it's surprising how a fresh upholstery on anything is going to sell it better than having it. People just don't want to be bothered to have it upholstered. But if it's already upholstered, certainly it's a better selling point. So good for you for doing that. And speaking of Nico, Nico says, "Hi folks, need suggestions. What's the best way to upholster this chair back without using tacks? I've pinned the fabric the way I think it should go." I'm not quite sure what she's asking about, but let me take a look at that. So Let me look at this closer. I pinned the fabric the way I think it should go. There's nothing else here. Yeah, she's got what she has here, you guys. She has you can see the foam right here. This is a really manufactured piece, right? And I had a piece like this in class where it was a Parson chair, and they had it all foamed up, and then they didn't have it in sections. The whole thing was foamed up, the inside back, the panels, and the outside back, all like one piece. So it was almost put on like a slipcover, although it wasn't. It's upholstered. So I said to her, that the student, we need to redesign this. We need to you can take the foam off the panels and the outside back, and this for instance would have a separate panel. Now that's how an upholsterer would do it. And if you're not going to do a separate panel, you can keep it, but you can either have pleats or a seam around here. Now she was asking about the back, how to attach the back. So the issue would be it would be a separate outside back. Let's see what Malcolm says. It looks like the cover should be fully sewn and rolled on. Yeah, that would be more like a slip cover. And then Nico just chimed in. She just finished all 7 seats with clear vinyl. Oh, she's using vinyl. Well, that changes everything. So the vinyl, if you're using vinyl, you're not going to be able to hand stitch it, but you could ply grip it. No hand stitching on vinyl, but maybe she could tell us how she just finished all, and then she says, if I slip cover, she's going to comment again. But the outside back would be separate. She can blind stitch the top, blind tack the top, pull it down, and then use ply grip on the outside, up and down each side. And that's how I would have done it. She's saying no tacks. That's how I would have done it with no tacks. Hope that answers the question. But I've been seeing a lot of these chairs now. Restoration Hardware is really notorious for this. They're not upholstering in the traditional way. I mean, people like their product, but they're not doing things separately. They're doing things the whole thing's being done. And so to me, it's more fashion like a slipcover / upholstery job. And what that translates into is quicker production time. Definitely, they're just finding better ways of cutting the time and making more profit on the pieces of furniture. It's a lot harder to upholster things separately, as you guys know, it is to So well, some of you might not agree with that. I was going to do it the same way I do with my channel back. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the comments. It keeps me going. Nico also says, how do I make a pattern for a slipcover? Well, I have a, that's a loaded question. I have a student who, I actually do slipcover consultation with the students when they bring their own machine. They have to have their own machine. They can bring their machine and I can set them up. And I have a student who was doing a slipcover in a small upholstered chair. Her and I worked it out pretty well. It came out really nice. And yeah, Malcolm says there's a tutorial about Bernice. It is a paid class, but it's a great class. I mean, there are other YouTube videos out there. I don't think we have do we have a YouTube video on slip covering, Patrick? Or just the online paid class? We have a couple? Yeah, you could check out. She says will do. Thank you guys for the comments. We have a very active crew here, Patrick. Maybe they sense my loneliness and my desperation. You know, upholsterers live lonely lives of desperation. Did you guys know that? We're lone wolves. Malcolm says the class is so worthwhile. Thank you, Malcolm.
Is he enjoying the wing chair?
Is he got the wing chair class?
Yeah, he did the grip.
Oh, good. Malcolm did it right. I think it's the best value. Really, I think it's a good value for the work that we put into it. I mean, the hope is that because they're timeless, that Patrick will be using these well after I'm gone. Maybe he can re-edit it, repackage them, or whatever. I don't know. That's the idea, is timeless, as a timeless tutorials. Unless we change completely how furniture is done, I don't think it's going to change anytime too quick. So we have a couple of YouTube videos, and then we're going to get to Michaela. I'm kind of interested in what Michaela is going to say. I have some questions for her about fabrics and about. So you really have to be careful with. Well, I'll talk to you about it. Remind me to talk to you about how Michaela doesn't know because she's not been through this, but I have been through it with the new number of fabric companies. I fall in love with these companies, and so doesn't everybody else. Then they get really big, and then they have growing pains. And when they have growing pains, that really can interfere with your work. You're still a small upholsterer. They've grown because they're working with a lot of small upholsterers and mid-sized shops, and then they get noticed, and then bigger shops use them, and then you can kind of get lost in the and then you have problems. And I want to talk to Michaela about the problems, some of that I've seen recently. Now, Malcolm says, what has changed about furniture is how cheap it is today. People can't justify reupholstery. I know, Malcolm, I see this commercial. You guys seen that commercial on TV? It's so well produced, it isn't funny. Unlike this, what we're doing right now. But Malcolm, you'd appreciate this. It's a sectional. It's modular. I call it modular furniture. That's what it's not new, but the concept that they're doing. If you've seen two people, they're a family. They're on the furniture. Somebody spills something. A kid spills something. They take the cover off. They wash it and put it back on. So these are removable, washable covers. I have to tell you something, you guys. The seating is terrible on this stuff. It's terrible. You're not going to be able to sit on this. At least I'm not going to be able to sit on it. Depends on how old you are. For too long without getting a bad back. It's like you might as well be on a park bench. I mean, there's nothing that takes the place of custom furniture. 8-way tie coil springs and really good seating, cushioning, and back cushions or back upholstered backs. I mean, upholsterers are experts at seating and comfortable seating. You should be able to read War and Peace on the sofa. You should be able to sit down and sit there for 4 hours and get up and with no problem and no backache. But this stuff here is so hard. It's just not. There's no way that they can put with what they're getting for pricing, Malcolm. There's no way that they're going to be able to do this and make comfortable furniture. There's no way. It just doesn't work that way. Malcolm says it's like fashion. Disposable IKEA has zip-on covers, and they are awful chairs and couches. I hate to go on too much about it. About how bad it is, but it is cheap. So for some people, I suppose, if you're I mean, we are a transitional society for sure, and we're living more and more in smaller units because the housing is going up and transitioning from those to mid-size or whatever. But I guess if you're looking at like a 2-year lease on an apartment and then you're looking to furnish it and you want something new, I guess that's why they're busy, right? Yeah, and fast, he says, Malcolm. I think where I have a problem, and I've talked about this on these new furniture manufacturers. I mean, it would be one thing if they were just selling lower grade furniture and people just buy it, but it's the interest rates, it's the manipulation of payments and things like that for people who really can't afford it maybe in the first place. That I have a problem with that. Young people just starting out. um, I don't know. In the old days, it would be inherited furniture from grandmother for your living room, all good quality stuff. And you would maybe for your wedding, somebody would as a gift have it upholstered for you, and you have a brand new quality set, and that you could pass on. I'm into 4 or 5 generations with the furniture. That's how well done well made it was. Malcolm says, what's ironic about modern life is how many things get more expensive, like housing, but the things we put in our house get cheaper because we're short on cash. It's interesting about that, Malcolm. A lot of your communities, a lot of you call bedroom communities around here or anywhere really. You've got the beautiful house, you've got the manicured lawn, and you've got sometimes there's nothing inside. There's no furnishings at all. All of the effort is put outside the house. It's kind of like to keep up with the neighbors, so you wonder where our priorities are. Um, let's go on to the YouTube. We have a comment from Urania, and she's talking about how to use and choose trim. You would think that trim is easy to choose and to put on, but there's some techniques to that, and I think I show it in this video. She says, "Great tutorial, thank you." I like that. I like that one. Sometimes you don't know these little nuances, and I'll give you an example. I had a student. I told her she needed to go out and get a trim because she didn't like the trims I had. I showed her the scroll gimp. Scroll gimp is the most common trim that we use for antiques. We're not talking double piping here. And so she came in with the trim that she bought that was not really the scroll gimp. It was a fancier gimp, but it was very loosely woven and it was black. I said, you shouldn't use it. I said, because you're going to be hot gluing and the glue is going to seep through, and black, when glue goes through black, it's really hard to get rid of it, even with the cleaner. So I told her she needs a really tight weave on it, and I showed her again the one that I recommended. So, excuse me, little nuances like that, you guys. And then she was trimming up her chairs, and she just couldn't trim it close enough because she had tennis elbow. So I had to trim the chairs for her. But when you're trimming, when you're trimming before you put the gimp on the chair, you need to take your after you trim, take your regulator. Usually there's a piece of wood and there's a lip. You take your regulator's little tip and run your regulator. But when you take your regulator, let's say this is the regulator, make sure that you don't take the handle and go like this, because you can slip off that, and then you can scratch the wood frame. What you want to do is you hold it with two hands really firm and go towards the bottom of the regulator. And what you're doing is you're running the regulator along where the wood is, and you're taking all the loose ends in. Now, you guys, if you've done GIMP before, you probably have had this problem where all the loose ends are showing through, and then you rely on your regulator after, or a lot of people don't do it during because they're too focused on the hot glue. They can't do everything, and I don't blame them. But they'll go later and do it, and sometimes the GIMP kind of turns a little bit when they do that. Well, the way to prevent that from happening, you want to do a good job trimming, but you want to take your regulator really firm, run it along like that. You'd be surprised at how much is tucked in at that point. Then you have no problem about threads. So Malcolm says, House of Num sorry. How do you pronounce that, Patrick? I just wait a minute. I'm not gonna say it again. Not Nom Billy. House of Nom Billy says, tilt the camera a little bit, can't see your hands. I'm sorry. All right. She's interested in this trimming thing. So when you're holding your regulator, when you're going to run it along for your trim, after you've trimmed the chair and you're preparing to put the trim on, you're gonna, before you glue the trim on, take your regulator. Don't take your regulator and put the force on like this. You don't get the accuracy. Your regulator can slip off. You do is hold it with two hands and really firm and really close to the point, and run it like along, like the wood, and along where the stapling is. And you'd be surprised how much of a cleaner how much cleaner that is, rather than not do that, put the GIMP on and then going back. You can do that. You can. I used to do it before I knew this trick, and you go along and tuck with your regulator, tuck your threads in. However, what happens sometimes is the GIMP can kind of fold in crazy ways, and you don't want that to happen, right? Thank you for noticing that. That's that's the disadvantage of not having that camera right there. I hope you guys can forgive. New class. I like this. Jim Patrick did this. You guys probably have seen Jimmy in his wing chair flying around there. He's no angel, you guys. I think we're just tongue in cheek with that. Right, Patrick? But, check it out. Wow Wow said, "Love the video. The wings laugh out loud." There you go. They're really good wings. I don't know where he gets this stuff from. I don't know. It's pretty good though. Um, 30s vintage. That's somebody new on YouTube, Patrick. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen Wow Wow, and I haven't seen Urania. Those three. On the last YouTube video, the Upholstery Show Live, the comment is, "Oh, this was so much fun to watch your response on my MCM chairs. Thanks. I should add that I deconstructed the cushions. There is no webbing, but just wood. The old 1-inch foam is super soft, so I think I can replace it with extra firm foam and get the look, but not the sinking and loss of seat height. So it should give me the height and retain the original look. Thanks. You are fantastic, and I appreciate your advice. I also should add that I gained a half-inch in seat by adding felt to the leg bottoms, which I needed to protect our hardware floors. You might want to check out if you guys want to know what MCM is talking about. It's the last upholstery show live that we did. We answered some of her questions along with her videos. And she says, we got it. Yeah, thank you. All right, so now I think what we're going to do is ask Michaela to come in and talk to us a little about, well, first of all, let's do the estimates, Michaela. You can do it from there, can you?
Yeah.
Okay, so can they hear her, Patrick, from there?
She should be able to.
Okay. All right, let's do now. This is an important part of the show. I think we've heard from people who like the business end of things, which is the pricing end of things, and there's a lot of factors there that we've talked about. But I know that Janine takes snapshots of these when I hold them up and uses the pricing that I talk about and the yardage, and she's been cataloging it and using it for her own pricing in Australia. Of course, you have to adjust for where you are, your location. Even I find, if you're in an urban area, if you're fortunate enough to have an upholstery shop in an urban area, and I say that because to be in an urban area and you have commercial space in an urban area, you're probably doing okay, and you can demand higher prices in an urban area. But if I'm in a metropolitan area, meaning outside of the city. I'm about a 20-minute drive from downtown Boston. So I'm in one of the suburbs, considered a suburb or metropolitan Boston. But if you're in a metropolitan area, I mean, one pricing is urban, the other pricing is metropolitan. The other pricing beyond that is in Massachusetts, it would be central Massachusetts. And then you have western Massachusetts. And that's just going west, up and north. It's kind of the same thing. So what that means is gradually when you're going out, the prices go down. There's no doubt about it, because everything else has gone down, housing and everything else. The further away from the center, which in my case is Boston, which has gotten crazy, crazy with pricing, and everything's gone up. I mean, a sandwich here costs you, Diana, if you're out in the Midwest, I'm sure a sandwich doesn't cost you $17. And I've seen $17 sandwiches here. And I was just reading an article. If you want to live in Boston proper, in a 2-bedroom apartment, you need to be making $200,000 a year income, which I think I just can't even imagine that. But that's what they're saying. So a lot of people it's going to push a lot of people out. So, do you have the first one up there, Michaela?
Yes. So it's from June 9th.
Okay.
Alina.
You want to read that?
So she says, "Hi, I would like to get custom covers made for 2 triangle wedge pillows. Each has a dimension of 25 by 24 by 12 inches. Using the greenhouse fabric S5133 Garden. I also have an Unfurled Sofa bed that I would like to get a custom slipcover made for. The old cover has gone scratchy, and I'm hoping to pick up a fabric that is soft and durable. I have a toddler at home, so the fabric has to stand up to stains and wear and tear. I'd like to hear what fabric you would recommend. Please send me a quote for each of the requested above. Thank you.
Okay, so I know what she's talking about on a wedge bolster, but I don't know what she's talking about on an unfurled sofa bed. So let's look at what she's got for a. She's got a link here, right, Michaela?
Yeah.
That I'm going to try to get up here and show people. It looks like it might be European, right?
Well, at least she's choosing our fabric.
Yeah, I'm impressed by that. Oh, so see the sofa. Okay, this is called an unfurled sofa bed, you guys. This is interesting. I think I've seen one. I've seen something like it. I've seen mid-century furniture like this. But what's the part of the unfurl? It comes out and it's a sofa. Okay, and she's got from all angles too. So let's just. Oh, she's got it flat down. So there it is. That's the concept there. It's flat down. It's kind of cool. Do you like that, Michaela?
Yeah, it's interesting.
So let's work up a price. Is there a price on here? Let's cheat a little bit to see if they do they quote a price on this link, Michaela? I don't see one. But they're saying it's comfort, and anytime they mention comfort, you know that it's expensive because they must have a good spring system in there. So it says it's so the unfurled sofa bed is a classic innovation living design. Its three back positions make the sofa bed I thought it said malfunction. Multifunctional, as it is up to you whether you'll sit, lounge, or sleep. That is cool. That is really cool. She doesn't like the fabric in there, so she's asking us for a reupholstery job. So let's put it in the upright position again to show you guys what I think. Well, you've seen the picture. So, Michaela, you can respond the sofa bed, the unfurled sofa first, and that's going to be $1,400 labor, which I think is reasonable. And she needs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I would say just to be safe, 9 yards, just to be safe. Let me know when you're ready, and I'll do it. Well, if you guys want to see, maybe some people don't know what a wedge bolster is. Let's get that up too. So she's asking about these. Oh, I'm glad I put this up because if it's that one, that's a big wedge bolster, and it's being used for sleeping, not for backrest. It makes a big difference, you guys. I'm glad I did that, Michaela. So go back to that, to what she has dimensions down here. See, I wasn't paying attention at all. The dimensions are 25 by 24 by 12 inches. That's a big wedge bolster. Normally, they're not that big. If you're using them for your back, they're 12 inches tall, but they're only 8 inches at the base and 4 inches at the top, and 12 inches tall. This is at least double the size of a typical wedge bolster. So I'm glad I looked. So that means they're $225 each labor on those. She calls them triangle wedge bolt pillows, which I would agree with that. Yeah. Always look at if the customer's providing measurements. You guys don't do what I just did. Always don't take for granted that you know what it is until you see the measurements. Let me just catch up a little bit on.
How many yards of fabric?
On those ones there, you need fabric. You need, I would say, 2.5 yards each. 2.5. And you quote her the greenhouse fabric if you want. I think that's one of the Anna Elizabeth's, Michaela. Oh, she's got a picture of it. Let's put that up there too. Let's show people what she picked. Oh, look at that! I haven't seen that one. Have you seen the fabric, Michaela?
Going there now.
Look at that, you guys. That's cool. That's she wants for the wedge bolsters. That is pretty. I haven't seen that one. I don't think we have that in a book, Michaela.
Probably not.
That's really nice. I like that. And did she pick out for the other one? No.
No, not yet.
Okay. You might want to, before you reply to that, get her a price on the fabric and the
Yes.
availability. You already
No,
figured that one
because
out, right?
that's very expensive fabric.
I figured it would be. How much is for our viewing audience? How much is a retail on that?
Retail price for this one, $188 a yard.
That's the most expensive greenhouse fabric, I think. What makes it so expensive? Can you tell people what makes it expensive?
Well, it says it's so it's almost 50% cotton.
Right.
And then it says 100% viscose embroidery. So it's an
Oh,
embroidered 50% cotton.
and embroidered, or that's why. That's
And it's also from India.
but it's beautiful. Absolutely. Good thing she only needs 2.5 yards each. It sounds like she's done her homework before she's called us, which is really great. I mean, what she's got everything we need. A lot of times people, I don't know if they're serious with their inquiries. They're not giving us, if you've seen us do these before, you guys have probably been through this if you're doing work for people. You, you have to kind of kind of drag the information out of people sometimes. So this would be like a 3 or 4 emails in, and we're going to do it one email in, right, Michaela?
Yeah.
I mean, usually it's back and forth, and it's just because people don't know. I mean, they just don't know. Malcolm, I have one of those wedge pillows. He says, make sure you make the zipper extra long to wrap around the sides. The stock one is a bit short, and it's annoying to change the cover. Tell me about it, especially when they have a machine that does it, Malcolm, as you know. They have machines that do this. Intelligent, what's that? Artificial intelligence. I hope we don't get taken over by artificial intelligence upholsterers. Do you think that will happen, Patrick? Do you think we'll be taken over by robots?
Wouldn't be surprised.
Little do they know that I am a robot. I used to, I had when I was a kid, I had a fear of robots. I think it was for good reason now that I think about it. We had a kid in the neighborhood that was older than all of us, us kids, and I don't think he was a nice guy. And he used to scare the heck out of us kids. He told a rumor that one of the neighbors had a robot in his house, and that the robot would be doing these different things. And this guy was very convincing, and we were scared. And he never let on, never let on. I thought to this day, he never actually said there wasn't a robot, Patrick. But I remember having a fear of robots. Maybe I was way ahead of my time here. Malcolm says robots can't. I can't get this. He says robots can't fix anything. Patrick, did you know robots can't fix anything? And they can only make things that end up in the dump. Did you hear that, Patrick? I love it. Maybe the robots should end up in the dump themselves. Um, House says, I got a scoop. I wanted to ask if you could please explain an upholstery business making their money from fabric. How do you establish relationship with companies when you're just getting started? I'm just about to talk about that. Do you? So if you can hang on or watch this later, you can scoot, sure. But I was just going to address that. We were going to talk about that, and it's tricky. It really is tricky. You can get bogged down. Problem with fabric companies, usually they have a representative. If they don't have in the old days, the representative would come into your shop, and if they don't have that, they're going to have people on the phone that are going to be talking to you once you establish a relationship, and it's a very personal relationship. It can be, so it's harder to kind of, if there's a problem, to complain or to pull away completely from a fabric company, which I've had to do, which is a little painful because you develop, like I said, these relationships, but sometimes it just comes down to business. Is there another estimate, Michaela?
No, that was it.
Okay, let's address her question right now. So the other day, I myself ordered 2 fabrics that were on back order for my company. Usually, this is a good company, and they don't make too many mistakes yet. But you know, I think we got on this company, Greenhouse Fabrics. We'll just say they're a great company. We love them, and we just have to be on the ball. The bigger they get, and I think that they've gotten bigger, Michaela. Yeah, because I can see things falling through the sometimes things fall through the cracks. Things are falling through the cracks. You have to be really aware. I would recommend them highly right at this point. They're still great. But I find that when companies, any company, it's true for any company, and fabric companies no exception, when they start getting big, um, they run into problems. One of the reasons why I picked this fabric company is because I know that I can ask the salesperson on the other end of the phone, can you go and check the stock on that fabric? Let's say they're low on stock. They can actually put you on hold and walk out to the warehouse and actually physically check to see if they have that fabric. That was the biggest selling point. I mean, I did some research in the beginning when I was switching companies. That was the biggest asset, that, in my opinion, that they had. I like the line of fabrics. That's good. They're all about the same anyhow. On that way, they have buyers that usually the buyers are good at selecting fabrics, and they're doing what people like. The colors, they're on top of what the color, what the popular colors of the day are. Michaela, and things like that. This company is really good. They're down south. They are getting big. So I just tell you, I ordered 2 fabric back ordered, put the order in, and then I called checking on them a couple of days later, and they dropped it from the system. They had no explanation, Michaela, why that happened. So I mean, I didn't get mad. I'm a little disappointed. So I did it again. I put both of them on it. But the point is, you have to be checking. You have to be on the ball, and there is a lot of nuances in fabrics, selling. And Michaela can talk a little bit about something else that I see it's going on right now. Are the old books, Michaela? We've gotten some patterns. Some books are starting now to show a quarter of them don't seem to be any good, or another thing you got to watch out for. Michaela's really good about this, is making sure that you get the current price. Don't go by the book price, right, Michaela?
Yeah.
Uh, they've all gone up
Or
and
gone down.
all gone down.
Yeah, like some of them could have been put into the on sale or the value books.
Do some actually go down?
Yeah, I think some make their
Okay,
way into the value book.
that's good. Cross-referencing. I put down cross-referencing here. I don't know what that means. I wrote it. I don't know what that means. Do you know what that means, Michaela?
The website maybe ends on the phone because sometimes the website's off.
Yep, redundancy in the system. Don't rely on. We've had a case where the numbers got switched. Um, Believe it or not, there was one thing that was an in-house thing I caught, Michaela. Remember that the two numbers got mixed backwards.
Yeah.
I caught that, but I caught it because we have a redundancy in the system. The redundancy. This is important, really important, and this is for house, right? When you're picking a fabric, make sure. I think most companies do have a pattern number and a color. I'll tell you why that's important. When you give them and they have letters in front. This company has a letter, 4 digits, and then the color, right, Michaela?
Yeah,
And
name usually associated with the color.
that's redundancy. So a lot of times when you're saying I want S4122, S is in Sam, you always say that, right, Michaela?
Yeah.
And so they don't hear F or whatever, and put you want to make sure. But then sometimes they don't ask me the color, Michaela. I have to say, now the color is Tabasco. That is redundancy in the system right there, the color. So make sure if you're going to pick a fabric, I like Greenhouse. I still like them, don't get me wrong. Make sure if you're picking a fabric company, they have properly, you'd be surprised, make sure they have a pattern number and color. Don't go by just color. I notice a lot of these high-end fabrics, leave the high-end fabrics to the high-end designers. You guys don't even get involved. You'll be just forever waiting for fabrics overseas and not getting the proper answers. It's not that the companies, you get these companies that get too big, they're offering all these specialized fabrics that are coming from overseas. The way the world is now, and what can happen with transportation, you've seen it. I just don't want to be bothered with that. My customers won't wait. Some will, As long as you tell them there's a back order initially, they will wait. As long as there's a light at the end of the tunnel. A lot of times with these fancy fabrics, there's no light at the end of the tunnel. They just say 8 to 60 weeks or whatever. And then my customers, and I wouldn't put up with something like that. So I don't get involved. So stay away, in my opinion. Designers are in a different level of selling. No offense, Michaela, but it's a whole different ball game when you're a designer. You're working more intimately with the customer. You're doing more than just upholstering their furniture. You're painting their walls, and you're doing carpets and everything. So they can afford to get a high-end fabric coming from Italy that isn't even made yet. And there's so what they use a lot of times is the anticipation of a beautiful fabric, and people are willing to wait a long time for something like that. Does that make sense? It's a whole different ball game, right? So we're just doing, and so keep this in mind, you guys. I hope that you're going to be able to use this. But fabrics are tricky. So I think I'll let Michaela talk. Can you typically tell me, Michaela, the typical customer and how it works with you when a customer comes in? Can you kind of go through that? And if you're uncomfortable, I can do it.
No, well, usually somebody will come in after talking with you, getting an estimate from you, whatever it may be for whatever piece of furniture. And then they'll come in, they'll look at the fabrics. The very rare case where somebody flips open, in the first book they open, they find a fabric that they love, and that's it. They're choosing that one. That's very rare.
Very rare.
But most of the times, people will look through the books and then choose a number of samples to get sent to them. And sometimes we never hear back from them. Or it takes like months for them to finally get back to us. And by that time, some of these fabrics are out of stock, not made anymore, all these possibilities.
So you follow up on those. We're good at following up on those estimates too, saying, hey, we sent you some samples. We just want to let you know those samples don't last forever. Where are you at on this project, right?
Yep.
So that's important. I mean, it's important. And the way we do that, we don't rely on computers or dates on our computer. I don't, at least. We have you guys can check out the video that we've done with the Post-its, how to run an upholstery shop. That I think there's a lot of value to that, and I think we use that for fabrics too. Fabrics can be complicated with back orders and samples that are out there that people tend to leg off on that, right, Michaela? They tend to. It's not the most important thing on their schedule, so you have to kind of give them a little push. So, like, I'll give you a for instance too about most upholsterers that I know. We're good with color. We're okay with color. We're not color specialists. That's why we have Michaela. Michaela is a color specialist. So we had a customer come in Friday when she was running a little late, but the customer, I brought the customer to a certain point, and I was at a standstill, and she came in just at the right time. And I'll tell you what happened. So the customer originally wanted green, right, Michaela?
Yeah.
She wanted green with like kind of an oak. That was an oak frame that she had. They were just loose cushions on an oak frame or maple. Or what was it?
Yeah.
Whatever it was oak or maple.
I think it was maple.
Maple, and then she had these pink drapes in the background, and she had a carpet, and she had another chair that she was trying to match, and she was solid on the green. And then halfway through, when she was working with me, guess what happened? She flip-flopped, saw a pink that she liked, and said, "Why not pink?" So I said, I was trying to help her out as much as I can, but when somebody flip-flops like that, Michaela, that's a warning flag start to go up for me, because that's somebody that's unsure. And so that what I said to her at that point, I said, what you really need now, because you have all these other elements. You have the wood. She didn't think about the wood. She didn't think about a carpet. She didn't think about the other chair, especially the wood portion. And that's where I said Michaela would be better from this point on. And how did you finish up with her? Send her samples? Were they pinks and greens?
Yeah, so I sent her samples. There was only 4 samples because she chose basically 4 colors. It was one pink and 3 greens.
So she's still undecided on pink or green
Well, it sounded to me like she's gonna go with the pink.
with the pink. So I told her, because she does a lot of Zoom conference calls on that sofa, that pink shows up. Patrick and Malcolm probably can weigh in on this. Pink shows up better on the video, do you think, Michaela?
Probably.
That's what I said to her. But as far as the rest of the decor, Michaela was a better help there. So I think that just about does it. So beware when we love this fabric companies. I sense that they're getting bigger, and when fabric companies get bigger, they hire interns or entry level people to take over the phones, and you've got to be on the ball with fabric companies, and you got to know when to say goodbye to a fabric company. Because that can happen. When I say goodbye to a fabric company, it's when I reach a certain level of back-ordered fabrics and disappointed customers and lost jobs. When I start losing jobs, that's a whole different ball game, and that can happen when a fabric company gets too big. They get too big. They have more than one warehouse, and they can't check stock and things like that, or they're doing more overseas, things like that. And so that's a time to pull up. But anyhow, thank you guys for coming, and I hope this was informative for you. And I hope to see you next time. We'll see you next time.